Once is good, twice is better. Good morning. I wonder how many are going to come in. I'm playing it to, hopefully, to my YouTube saying in Colombia. What are all these warnings I'm getting? Movie. Oh, that I went live, which I want to go and look and see if. Wow, no kidding. It actually is working. So in my personal channel in YouTube, it's also streaming. I wasn't sure because it looked like you can only stream to one YouTube. So I put in the information, but not as YouTube. It doesn't matter. Um, could we also all right. All right. So today I have a list of things. Unlike the other day where I had nothing to talk about, today I made a list. None of it's all that important, but I'll talk about Rumble a little bit because that's the reason I'm doing this. Shariq's coming back today. Question came up again a million times. Is it safe in Colombia? So, I'll beat that dead horse for a while. Savings accounts. What are the returns? Why? So I'll talk about that a little bit. Mention Turtle. I'll talk a little bit about rents for apartments. Buying a car from a dealer. I'll talk about that a little bit. How do you go about getting your visa? Not the details of it, but I'll mention that. Colombian food. So I don't know how any of that will go, but that's my plan. And if you would, because it's important for me to try to keep track of this, if you sign in, no matter where it is, if you could just say something in comments. Of course, you can talk all you want in comments, but if you say something in comments, it'll help me to know, that you're there. Because, I got to talk for a couple hours again. Figure I'm going to do this every Tuesday and Thursday, or at least give it a shot. If I can do a couple hours Tuesday, a couple hours Thursday, then I do the coffee time. That'll give me 5 or more hours a week. With what I already have, that should hit me. Owen, thank you. Owen, my Rumble savior. Now, do you have that as a capital I or a small L? It's a good question. So I wonder who else might join us. All right. So last time, Tuesday, in a previous episode, I asked about that lawyer show in Boston because one of the people had Asperger's. There it is. That's the one. And I think it was James Spader that had the Asperger's, but I'm not sure. Could have been Captain Kirk. I know he was bold and brash, but I think it was James Spader. I don't know. Anybody know? And somebody said it was Boston Public. And that was a TV show, but it was about public school. So anyway, I like that show. I don't think it was on for very long. And a lot of TV I don't get to see. Even back then, I was always very busy. Um, I, for a number of years, I was running a multi-location business that I owned, and at night I was um, creating and selling and maintaining 4,000 websites for people around the world. Yeah, those were the days. 2, 3 hours sleep, making a ton of money, exhausted, missing out on vacations, ended up getting divorced. Well, that's how it goes. All right. Now, Juka joined us for a while last time, so that would be pretty cool. One of these days, maybe on this would be perfect. Maybe Tuesday. Some of the things I learned recently about Finland, you might appreciate it, but I found it quite fascinating. It's like its own world there, and the relationship between Finland and Russia goes back forever, and it's not a very good one. Um, but I'm not prepared to talk about all that stuff yet. And then I have to talk about the guy. He of course, he knew the name of the best sniper ever in history. It was from Finland. Okay, so I mentioned locals, and somebody shot me off a message, and all it said was, "What do you mean locals?" Okay, well, what I mean is, here, boom. Let me get rid of that banner. This is locals. This is part of Rumble, and it can be behind a pay. Think of it as like Patreon. You can join and go in and be part of it. I could also put things behind a paywall. And I may do. Remember, I was talking a while back about potentially, what was it? Substack, potentially using Substack to talk about things that I can't really talk about to the general public, be it Colombian politics. I mean, I talk about Colombian politics, but I mean, there's a lot of things that I have to self-censor. And I have to self-censor. It's not because I'm a chicken, but because laws are different in different places. And I'm living here on a visa, which means you have to be careful about certain things because this is my life. And if that visa gets pulled, what the hell am I going to do then? I'm just completely embedded here. So I have to be careful. On the other hand, there are things that I would like to talk about. I don't like being self-censored, and I'm not very, very much, but there is a line that I have to be careful not to cross. When I talk about dating, I have to be very careful about, that kind of thing, because I don't want my channel or anything to do with, there's so many YouTubers out there that make kind of disgusting videos, sort of about dating, but well, and I don't really want to give the impression that I'm making those kind of videos. On the other hand, it's pretty important. Now, I can't really help the ladies very much with this, but they're only about 17 to 20% of my viewers. But the guys, I can talk about that because, I live here, I've dated, and I've gathered a lot of information. A few years back, I did a dating video. So there are things that I could talk about because if you come here, it's like, it's like, be careful, don't ever do this, or, this will help you out and things like that. But I don't want to do that on my Coffee Time channel, for example. And that's not what it's about. It's about Colombian information mostly, and it's about, what's going on in my life living in Colombia. Oh my God. Let me check these, see if there's anything remotely important here. Nick Simpson on Facebook. If you reside here on an M visa, then you are required to pay into EPS and pension. Well, that never was the case, unless you can prove you have a pension outside the country. Absolutely not true. Used to be true. You go into EPS for the health insurance, but not the pension. So I said, well, that's changed actually with the M visa. You aren't allowed anymore, which is sadly it's true. You can't get EPS. And as a matter of fact, if you go to renew your M visa and you have EPS, you have to cancel it and then reapply for the visa. That you cannot get your visa having EPS or having them know. And I write, sucks but true. And so he just replied back, that is interesting. Are you talking about the pension or the health care? Because in order to get a private policy, no, we weren't talking about a private policy. You need to pay for EPS on top of it. That's true, which is a law here. That's not true unless your job pays for it. About the pension, I was only told that. So if that changed, that's great news. He's misinformed. He just has old information. But that's the way it is. And then other people will read things like that on Facebook, and they'll say, let me get this off the screen. And they'll say, oh, well, that's true. And then people argue about it. And that's why it's important. You always have to go to sources. You can't take this, be it politics. People want to argue about Orange Man, and they'll argue about the clips that they saw on, CBS News. And so they saw a 30-second or a minute clip, but then they didn't watch the 30-minute thing that would put things in context and whatever. You're not saying he's the most classy guy in the world, but it's obvious that there's a lot of bias out there and a lot of bad information. And then people will see that, not do any background research, and then go berserk when anybody says anything that's contrary to what they think. I had somebody go berserk over the fact that it has been promised to Russia many times, and we've had actual signed agreements that NATO would never go into Ukraine. And he has expressed many times that would be his line in the sand. Hence, when they announced publicly in 2022 that they were going to bring Ukraine into NATO, and then Putin promptly invaded Ukraine. Now, it doesn't excuse what he's doing and all that, but see, the minute you say that, you'll have people that have only received certain information. They're often not even aware of that. And they go, oh, you got it all wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. And you love Putin, and it's like Russia, and you hate Ukraine. It's, what are you talking about? I'm just talking about a fact. It's a fact. Why blind yourself and delude yourself? It has nothing to do with supporting Russia or hating on Ukraine or vice versa. It's simply a fact. And if you're going to have a conversation about what leads to some event, why would you just ignore a fact? You may not like it, but it's true. And the problem is that you will have people, for their own reasons, in power, that will manipulate those facts, leave off certain things to make it all one-sided. It's like, oh, he's Hitler and he's the worst, creature on earth. But the thing is, it's like, I'm 71 years old. You know how many times I've heard that about other people in this world? And people that after time goes by, turns out that were misunderstood, or they weren't near as bad, or they even reformed, like Gaddafi. Gaddafi actually reformed and began helping us. Of course, then Hillary sent in the bombers and blew up his country. And it's like, why would you time it like that? The guy has finally turned the corner and is assisting us, and now you want to get rid of him. It's craziness. But you're not supposed to know that he was helping us. Yeah, it's people are just, they're just manipulated, and it just frustrates me. That's what years ago when I returned from Vietnam, the first thing that struck me was watching a news report. And this was back when Walter Cronkite was on the news and all those kind of, yeah, I'm old. And I just returned, and what I was watching had nothing to do with the reality of where I had just left. It just was wrong. They were talking about when I left, it was at the end, it was the airlift, and I was in helicopters. I was part of that, and I'm watching news reports about what an orderly process it was, and they painted this picture of how we were in control of everything and it was planned out, and I'm, what the hell are you talking about? There's still holes in my helicopter, from bullets. It was chaos. It was madness. I remember one time that we landed to pick up some sticks, we called them, people, and there was this hedgerow, and they're being shot at from this hedgerow, and they're running towards the helicopter, and the first guy comes up, and for whatever reason, he's on the ramp, and he's like, what do I do now, kind of thing. And he reached over and he pushed. We have these all up and down flare and chaff, these buttons. So anywhere in the back of the helicopter, if you see something or somebody said, you can just hit one of those buttons and it'll shoot off a flare from this container that's in the top part of the ramp as a clamshell. So so this will be the inside. The ramp will go down, and this thing will go, fold up, and the flares are in here. He hit this button by accident and shot out a flare and embedded in his chest. And all these people, they freaked out and turned around and ran back to where the gunfire was coming from. It was just madness. So it's like, get the hell out of here, because we're getting shot up, and flying back. And the whole thing was just, it was death and destruction. I watched a friend of mine burn alive in his helicopter, got shot up and ended up not quite making it to the ship, and actually hit the side of the ship, and he got consumed. And there was an epic picture showing people on a helicopter carrier LPD pushing a Huey off into the water. Well, that, as far as I know, that was us, because we did that. Now, it may have occurred other times, but myself and my squadron, we're trying to clear the space, because we got helicopters returning that are barely flying, and this thing's just sitting there taking up all this space. It was a black and white Air America helicopters, and they were walking around like they owned the place, and they weren't going to move. They wouldn't even listen. So we just pushed it off the back of the ship. That's so much for that. Everybody was living on the ragged edge. Nobody was sleeping for days. It was madness. So you're living in that, and that went on for a few weeks, and then you come back, and all of a sudden it's silent. You come into the airport, and you got people, calling you names and treating you like crap, because you come in the uniform, so you change as quick as possible just because you don't want to deal with the hassle. You got people, baby killers. I mean, what the hell? So you had all that kind of crap going on, but then you watch people, and they're just, they're going to lunch, and they're having conversations, and they're laughing and watch TV, and life is just calm, cool, and collected. And you've been living under this chaos for quite a period of time, and then the last 2 weeks it was very intense. And then you watch the news, and it was so disorienting. So propaganda's been going on for a long time. And, I learned way back then that if you really want to know what's going on, you have to look at original sources as much as possible. If you want to know what was going on in that airlift, talk to people that were part of it, for example. Don't get it from Walter Cronkite, which even today it feels like a funny thing to say because he was such an icon. He was the man, but, it is what it is. All right. That was a topic I wasn't planning on talking about, but that's okay. All right. Rob sent me a little video. Now, many of you know Rob from Fort Lauderdale. He comes to Columbia quite a bit. He's worked at Social Security for years, and he was coming up on retirement, his government retirement, and not his Social Security retirement. He's too young for that. And he was offered a chance to leave 2 months early. That was as of yesterday. And he sent me a little video clip. I think this is kind of loud, so be prepared because he seemed to be celebrating.
That's it. It's all over, guys. Leaving work for the very last time. Thank God. Oh, those poor people still there. Oh well. We had a great run there for a while, and it's all over now. Headed to the beach, baby.
It cracked me up. But I get the feeling. I understand it. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I kind of felt the same way. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, I'm free at last. I mean, there were aspects of the Marine Corps that I liked, but I never liked the military part of it. The spit and polish was awful. I hated that. So I mentioned today, I'm not sure what time, probably 5 or 6 o'clock tonight, because she always has trouble. See if there's any note here. Nope. She always has trouble getting out of that area, getting on a bus, and then she gets to Cali, and then everything's fine. Instead of, she'll leave in the morning, and it's 5-6 hours total should be. But she'll leave in the morning and show up here sometimes 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. And the bus from Cali is just your 4-hour bus ride. So all the rest is, escaping, getting out. Okay, so it'll be nice to see her. I haven't seen her in a while. Safe in Columbia. So we're going to talk about that for a little bit. And if you guys have anything that you want to discuss, I hadn't looked at the chat here. The time it was a capital, this time it was a capital I. Okay. Never saw Boston Legal, but I love James Spader in The Blacklist. I loved him. One of my favorite movies is The Secretary. And he was in it. And I can picture her face, but I can't think of her name. Facts are the destroyer of narratives. Yeah, absolutely. Sebastian, how you doing? How are you doing? He's a young guy who's got a place here. He's got family here. And sadly, he can only come for short periods of time. I must not be on my Coffee Time YouTube channel, which is good. I didn't want to be, but I wasn't sure. It shows 0, so I'm guessing that nobody's watching from there. Sebastian was on YouTube, but I don't know which one. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of curious. If you're on the Coffee Time YouTube channel, let me know. If you're on the Sane in Colombia channel on YouTube, let me know that. Because of the way I set it up, I don't know if I can count on the count there. Something just popped up on the Coffee Time YouTube channel, so I'm guessing that somebody in Rumble just flipped over to see if it was broadcasting there, and apparently it is. That's my guess. I am in your YouTube channel, James B. And did you just switch over to see if it was working? Because I saw it just pop up. That's interesting. So you're in my YouTube channel, but is it in the Coffee Time, the Grand Columbia, or is it in the Sane in Columbia private channel? Well, it's not private; it's personal channel. Because I'll talk about things there that I have no business to with Columbia. Okay, all right. So safety in Colombia. I'm going to be in Colombia. Well, I probably should have just copied the email and put it up there. I'll paraphrase. I'm going to be in Colombia, he said, we'll say soon. And I'm worried about safety because I keep reading things about safety. And I'm going to be going to Medellin first before I travel on to some other places. No, I just got here to the Grand Columbia channel. Okay, so it's broadcasting there also. And it looks like I kind of see. Well, let me click on it. See what I come up with here. Oh, that's it. Hi, Lauren. You should do an episode on your life as a helicopter pilot someday. I kind of just did, but that's interesting. I'm seeing the chat in YouTube, but it didn't come up on this screen. So that's interesting. It's also not showing anybody who's there. Whoop. Let me turn that down. All right. Okay. So if you go in the YouTube Sane in Colombia channel, I can't see your chat if I go there, and I can't really go there because I'm controlling this. I wish I had a producer. That would be awesome. That could do all these kind of things, look things up for me. It must be nice to be these channels that are actually making money, but that's part of what I'm trying to do. I mean, the reason I'm doing these marathons is because at the end of March, if I hit a certain metric, I'll go into the bin where I can become monetized, get money back out of it. So that would be amazing. The YouTube will never give me anything. So, all right. So safe in Colombia. So I'm going to be in Medellin for a while, and then I'll be moving on. I don't think he told me where, but he mentioned Medellin. Well, here's the thing. Medellin has gotten more dangerous. The whole world did after COVID, especially. It changed everything. The whole world got more dangerous. So recognize that. But I jotted down some basic things that if you do these things, you got slim to no chance of having any issues. I mean, you'll be fine. All right. First of all, be home by 11. Don't be out in the bars and partying away and trying to hail taxis or call an Uber, God forbid, at 2:00 in the morning. So be home by 11. Number 2, try to go with somebody, meet somebody, go with them. Make a friend. You're going to be here for a little bit. So invite them along, buy them a drink or two or whatever. take them to dinner, have somebody with you, show you around. And, it's worth investing a few 100,000 pesos, $50 for a couple days to have somebody show you around. Did you see Life with David's latest video in Manizales? He portrayed it as not so safe. Not sure if it's true or sensationalism for YouTube clicks. Very perceptive. He kind of justified later by saying it was more of an expectation than the reality. The reality is he had no problem. Now, he did do, and I have no problem with him. I actually did watch that video because I saw the clickbait about it not being safe, or I found out I was warned or something in Manizales. And like every city, there's places in Manizales you don't go. Here in Armenia, there's 4 barrios I talk about all the time. You don't go there. You have no reason to go there. You would never go there on your own. There's just no reason to go. Manizales, no different. But Manizales as a whole is a very safe city, relatively speaking. It's still a city. Crime exists everywhere, except maybe Tokyo. Not even in Tokyo. So he was walking. He was in Central, and he was walking towards Chipre Park, where the monuments are, where the founders, and that nice view, and all those places on the edge of the mountain where he was looking for food. And he was right. It wasn't that long ago. The only thing there was a Jeep with coffee on the back. And then you had a few food carts, and I watched that thing grow. Last time I was there, it was like what you saw. But in walking over there, he said that he walked down this one street that he could tell, he could get the vibes, it was sketchy. Well, if you walk through a neighborhood that's, it's not rich, it's, maybe not the nicest of buildings or whatever, and there's not a lot of people on the street, you can feel like it's unsafe. It doesn't mean it is unsafe. It doesn't mean it isn't unsafe. It could be either way. The truth is you don't know. You're not from there. You're not familiar with it. You don't really know. He did give good advice later, stay in places where there's a lot of people and well lit. If it's at night, things like that. Well, that's true. It's common sense. But Manizales is a cool place, and I never had any qualms about it, but you follow certain rules. I don't go, there was a time when I did every drug I could see or hear about. I'd go out drinking, and in Japan, there was this, it turns out it was actually some kind of cough syrup. Came in a little bottle like that, had a yellow label, and it was called Epstilin. I remember Epstilin, some things you don't forget. And in this was like half of it was some kind of opium and the other half was some kind of speed. I have no idea what that has to do with cough, but somebody told me, hey, you get, hell of a buzz on this thing. Well, so you drink it. It was nasty. Oh my God, I wanted to puke, but I did it for months. And it got to the point where I do it in the morning to wake up, and then I do it at lunch to keep me going. Then I do it at night because I'm going to go out drinking, and maybe I'd do 2 of them, and I'd be drinking, and then I wouldn't be sleeping. Then I'd have to do 1 in the morning. And after a month of that, I actually end up in the hospital for malnutrition, and I did a collapse. Never went on my record because the corpsman who took care of me was a friend of mine, and he made the records disappear. But so I was a bad boy, and I've done my share of partying and all that. But the thing is, if you don't want to get yourself in trouble, you don't do certain things. And that's one of them. You don't go out alone, drinking, get yourself half drunk, and it's, after midnight, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. you might as well just wear a sign that says, I'm an idiot, take advantage, because somebody will. So that's, um, it's common sense. It's, hey, Mike, how you doing? It's dangerous in every city in the world. Always has been, always will. Just don't go in those areas. Absolutely. Mike, since he's been here in Armenia, he's lived in places where he actually lives in safe areas, but where a lot of people think it's dangerous. And maybe some of that comes from me, from not being clear. I think I am. But you say something at one time and you forget that maybe you didn't say something that you could have said because you've said it 10 times before. In the South, the neighborhoods are fine, but there's certain areas you stay away from. Mike was living, I don't know if it's now or if it was before, but he was living like 2 blocks away from one of the most dangerous barrios. But the thing is, they don't really cross those lines. And where he was living was perfectly okay. But it's knowing those things, and you don't do stupid things. Hold on here. I'll get back to the safety. J. Beto, I will talk about all I can regarding Rumble and various options, as well as coffee and maybe some politics. Help me with this if you have time. Huh? That would be me. I'm not sure. Let's see. Hi, Lauren. It's actually Lauren with an O because I'm male, not female. Hi, Lauren. I just joined Rumble. I was the only one in YouTube. This is James from Miami. Okay. How you doing? And sorry, I copy paste the wrong thing. Cool. No problem. All right. Well, welcome to Rumble. Appreciate you being here. I really would like if I could get everybody switched from YouTube to Rumble. YouTube has advertisements. Rumble has advertisements. YouTube, you pay $20 or whatever it is, and you can have a premium channel, and there's no advertisement. Rumble, it's set up the same way. I have premium on YouTube because there's certain things out of habit that I've watched for a long time that aren't on Rumble. On the other hand, many things that I've watched have been switching to Rumble. And so do like what I'm doing. They'll broadcast still on YouTube, but Rumble has become their main channel. It's because on Rumble, you're not harassed. You're not throttled down. There's just a lot of bad things that take place on YouTube. If on this side, watching it's fine. If it was just a matter of watching, I wouldn't have bothered. But when you're trying to produce something, it's a nightmare. It's become a nightmare, and that's why Rumble has grown. There's millions of creators on Rumble now because people are desperate for something where they're not getting screwed over constantly. So a lot of things are now on Rumble that, so if they're on Rumble, instead of watching them on YouTube, I'll watch them on Rumble. I did opt to get the premium on Rumble, and it's nice to not have advertisements, but it was the same thing with YouTube. I'll probably cancel the premium on Rumble. There's still a couple things that I want to watch, but like I say, it seems like most of these have been switching to Rumble, and probably sometime this year, the ones that I like will probably have switched over. Owen, every time I tell people I'm considering moving to Colombia, they mention how dangerous it is. That's a problem with clickbait YouTube videos and shows like Narcos. People get the wrong impression. Well, it's the right impression, but it depends on where. And see, that's the thing. It's like somebody mentioned Amsterdam in the Netherlands. There are places in Amsterdam you go in and you'll never come out. You could say that about pretty much everywhere. There was what's the name of it? Around LA, there's some places that you just don't go. I mean, I don't have to grab, because we all know that. We all know that there's places you just don't go. Columbia's the same way. And I've talked about them. It's like, okay, you don't go to this area, you don't go to that area of the country. On the other hand, there's no reason to go there. There's nothing there for you. Why would you go there? But some people will go there because, well, they said not to. I'm going to show that, I'm brave or whatever. You're just kind of showing you're stupid. But anyway, let me get back on my list here. Where was I? Oh, find a friend. It's much safer to be with somebody, particularly if you're not familiar with the area. So work on that. Jewelry. People here don't really wear jewelry, and so if you got a ring and a necklace, and you got all kinds of stuff that you do in the U.S. because you're going out and you want to show. I don't have any jewelry. I was never like that. The only thing I ever wore was a watch sometimes and a ring. I always hated jewelry. I felt, yeah, but a lot of people will, they'll put on a cufflinks and a necklace and things like that. Go out. That's not a thing here. You don't do that unless you're a drug dealer or something. You just don't do that. Why advertise? And the jewelry that people have here, it's almost never valuable jewelry. They'll use cubic zirconium, and they'll use plated rings and plated necklaces and things like that because they don't want to lose any value if somebody snatches it. So, what's Mike saying here? Try having to work a few weeks in Gary, Indiana, or Englewood, California. It's good point. And I'm making these points, but we all actually know these points. It just seems people come here and they forget it. Oh, well, I heard that last week somebody got mugged and they took his cell phone and took his money and hit him in the head. It's like, oh, so, this city is completely unsafe. What? Yeah, stuff will happen, but what's the circumstances? And if you're only hearing about one, it happens everywhere. So you don't freak out over one. If there's an epidemic of it, which Medellin is starting to have, so you have to be careful. But the people in Medellin, they're having problems, are ignoring these basic rules. Jewelry, as I said. So what do they use here? If they use it, it's like costume jewelry. It's not a thing. So if you're walking around, you got a gold chain, this and that, it's like, if anybody, they wouldn't have bothered you otherwise, but man, look at that. Is that real gold? Yeah, it's probably good. He's a gringo. It's probably real gold. Let me see if I can steal that. Why invite it? Okay. Drunk. Neon sign. Take advantage one way or the other, whether it's a chick that cozies up to you and hits you with scopolamine and robs everything in your hotel room. Being drunk, publicly drunk, it just is it's not a good look. You say, well, I go to Colombia so I can party, until 3:00 in the morning, and I have all this fun. You could do that if you have a group of people that and you could trust. Otherwise, that's people here tend to do that in groups, or they have home parties. Even local people aren't stupid enough to go out and get drunk and wander home at 3:00 in the morning and not expect that there's going to be a problem. So there's that. The use of Tinder and Bumble. Now, I will tell you that in Colombia, Tinder is a very popular dating app because it's free. You can make contact with somebody, you can write to them, it's free of charge. On the other hand, in places like Medellin, it's mostly just hookers or scammers. There's real people in there, but it's hard for you to tell. One thing you could do is look how professional the photos are. That's a warning sign, but it's not a sure thing. So it's easy to meet people. And if you're in Medellin using Tinder or Bumble, probably not the best idea. But if you do, you've got to be very cautious about it. It's attracted crooks and scammers. Now, if you're like in Armenia, it's a dating app. In the U.S., it's a hookup app. People come from the U.S., they come here. I'm in Medellin. Well, I could just dial up a piece of, I can dial up a piece of chicken, and you can, but the chances of you getting into trouble are pretty high if you're in Medellin. Here, it's not like a hookup app. It's like a dating app. So you meet somebody, and maybe they want to go out with you a bunch of times, get to know you, and that kind of thing. That's Tinder through most of Colombia. So keep that in mind. Things are different here. And then the last thing is drugs. Well, it's Colombia. I'm going to go and party and have drugs, and all that stuff's legal. That's not legal. And you're just inviting trouble, because traffickers, last I knew, were criminals. And criminals are looking for opportunities. And you come and present yourself as an opportunity. Yeah, he's your buddy. You bought drugs from him, but now you're a mark. He knows. And even if he doesn't do it because he wants to keep distance from it, he tells one of his buddies to go get you. So you stay out of that world. All right. So I think that's all I have to do about safety. These are all common sense things, but if you do those things, you won't get in trouble. Mike's on here. He's never had problems. I've never had problems. I've been living here over 6 years. He's been living here, I think, 5 years. We don't have trouble. He lives in the South. Well, except for his year out in Pueblo Tapao, he's lived in the South for what must be 4 years without any problems. He's dealing with local people all the time. So it's not hard to stay out of trouble. Okay. How are we doing? Oh my God, it's not even an hour yet. And my voice is fading. It's nice to see there's some people here. Nice for me. It's probably not very entertaining for you, but I really do appreciate the support. I would love to get this thing monetized. Okay. Bank savings. Oh, you're a fool. You took a loan out on a car, you got high interest rates, and you're getting screwed, and da 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 da. Well, I can't afford a new car except if I get a loan. You could say the same thing in the US. Well, if you need a new car and you don't have the money, you take out a loan. So that's what I did. Interest rates high here. Yes, it's high. But as I mentioned before, there are offsets to it. I won't go through all of that, but the interest rate isn't as high as it appears, because it isn't just a matter of interest rates. It's the entire financial structure. And another thing that plays into this is a savings account. If you have money in savings, what do you get in the US? 2%, 3%? If you're lucky. It's the low end is 9.5%. Now, there was one recently, I don't know if it still exists, that was advertising 13%, but that was some bank out of China. You have to be careful because their economy is really in the toilet, and they're doing anything they can to just pump money in. That's why you see the Alibaba and Temu, they're selling stuff for like pennies on the dollar because it's all related to they're just trying to get it, just cash, just get the stuff in, sell it off, get the stuff in here because we need the cash. And the bank at 13%, well, that's all well and good. I wouldn't trust it. They opened up rather quickly. Who's to say they're not going to fold up rather quickly? But the banks here in Colombia, like Bank Colombia, it's been forever. And so, they're giving you, I can get 6 months savings certificate for 9.5%. It's pretty damn good. So you have to take the total picture into account when you're talking about things like credit. But what happens is people that aren't familiar with it, and they'll see the top surface. They'll say, it's this. And they don't take the time to see it's this. Now, if I didn't need to borrow to get the car, I wouldn't have done it because I'm not big on having debt. They've thrown all these credit cards at me. I use them because that pumped up my credit, but I also pay off each month so that I don't, build up a big problem. What do we have here? I go often. We'll be retiring soon, close to Armenia. I've never had problems. Just don't stay out late. That's definitely part of it. And Scott, like most stories, there's 3 sides and 2 opposing sides of the truth. Yeah. Well, it's just people argue with me or with you or just in general and not know what the hell they're talking about. They have a little bit of information and they're sure of that. Well, yeah, they're sure of that, but they don't have complete information. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. So anyway, if you're into savings, they have pretty good rates here. Sometimes, and they'll run specials. Like I'll see through like Davivienda or Bank Colombia, where they'll go up to like 11%. And the interesting thing is, like in the U.S., you get a 6-month certificate, it'll be a lower interest than if you got a 10-year or a 5-year or a 2-year or a 1-year. The longer it is, the more interest you'll collect on it, right? Here, it's like the opposite. A 3-month will give you a better rate than a 6-month. And a 6 months will give you a better rate than a 1 year. That's a real head scratcher for me. But, it's like, take the win. Take the win. Okay. If anyone is interested in coming on here, Turtle, if you feel like it, I don't know if Turtle's watching. He was going to last time, and he didn't. Mike, if you want to join in, you're welcome to. You can tell me I'm crazy. If you go there, that's capital I at the end. If you go to that address with your cell phone, video and voice, I can throw you up on the screen. Yes, I'm not wearing my hat. I don't wear hats in general. It's not bad for an hour for coffee time, but 2-3 hours, that's not great. Armenia is safe, even with a lot of poverty. Occasional person asking for food or money have never had a problem. Have been most everywhere in the city, no problem. Yeah, it's the same way. You just avoid dumbass decisions. It's really all it boils down to. Francisco, good morning from PA. How you doing? Look at that. I've learned how to put it up on the screen. Turtle, I think I mentioned it Tuesday, but it's official. He is moving to Pareda. Maybe, let me see if I can pull up a map and show you. Maybe not specifically where he's living, but in general. Yes, I think I can do that. Let me come back here. See if I can share the screen. Come on, start screen share. There we go. And there's the map. And ta-da! Look at that. I'm getting the hang of this thing. Now, see, if I had a producer, you wouldn't have to sit and wait through there. So if you look here, let me pull it over here. If you look here, I think you can see that. I can't look at both at the same time. Right in this area, this is the Pinares area. And this main road here, there's a lot of nightclubs. There's a Caruja supermarket right here. See Pinares. So 17. Right over here is the what's it called? There's the Expo. Here it is, Victoria. The Victoria Mall. I've walked from here. I did a video going from Victoria Mall up through this. I only had to cross one bad road, and then came up here and along here, walked up here, went into some of the side roads. I think I went down through here, and I've got one, maybe two videos of that. And when I talk about, and you see the nice treed area, when I talk, and he's near that. When I talk about Pareda, and I don't like Pareda, but I also mentioned that there's a couple places that are rather nice. And this area happens to be one of those areas that are rather nice. And so he got himself a nice, that worked out pretty good, I think. I'm curious, could you see the mouse? Could you see it, or was it just I could do it, but you weren't seeing it? All right, so let me do these chats. I'll talk a little bit more about that. I think you should share the other side of Colombia. There's a YouTube channel from Nomad Capitalist. He actually lives in Bogota, but goes all over the world to find the best. But what do you mean the other side? I share the side that I live. You know, I talk about and show the things that I know, that I experience, that I live, things that I'm sure of. I don't show things that I don't live and don't know. And as far as other areas of Colombia, I've shown quite a bit. I mean, I did 5 or 6 videos in Bucaramanga, a series there. I've done every pueblo in Quindío. I don't think I did videos when I was in the South, when I went to Pasto. I don't remember if I did a video then, or Popajan. I don't think I did. But I don't know. I've been all over the place. I've been to San Andres, the island. Been there. Anyway, so I'm not sure what you mean. There are 2 recent videos. Live Like a King in Medellin. I'm not trying to be what somebody else is. I'm familiar with his channel, and he's a wealthy guy. He's in business. He's currently also making money, and you know, I wish I had the money to live the way he lives, but I don't. I'm kind of poor. Mike Jarvis and I were kind of in the similar boat. We live a very nice, comfortable life, but we don't have a lot of extra money. I mean, hell, I had to take a loan to get a nice car. It's like, we have to budget our money. We have to be careful. That's the life that, we live. Hey, you're live on YouTube, but not Rumble? No, I'm absolutely on Rumble. I'm doing this on Rumble. I'm not doing this on YouTube. So I'm on the channel Sane in Colombia, which is part of the Grand Colombia account on Rumble. Let's see. Hold on. Paste. There. That's the link to me broadcasting right now, right there. Show living the good life in a safe way in Colombia. Of course, if you can afford it. I'm living the good life in a safe way. I'm not trying to be somebody else. I'm living. I'm very happy, content. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I mean, even when I had an all expense paid trip out of the country with a place to stay and a car to drive, I turned it down because I didn't want to leave. What if they don't let me back in? My life is here. I live a great life. I'm very happy here. So watch him for what he brings you, and if you want to see somebody who's not wealthy but still living a great life, then maybe this channel counts. On YouTube. Okay, I'm probably lost. Yes, could see the mouse. Awesome. Grand Colombia. Stream Elements. Oh, I'm surprised Stream Elements is coming up. Hugo. Do monetized in Armenia have good quality hospitals? Yes, absolutely. Very much so. We've got a brand new one opening up. There's also one in the south. I just heard about it recently. I was looking at a news article and I was reading the local people, their comments, and it was all in Spanish, but somebody mentioned the new hospital in the south, and what new hospital? And then they put a photo up, and I said, "Oh, I know that building. It's a very cool design building. It's near the circle. It's not far from where that huge farmers market is, like the wholesale farmers market on the southwest side of the city. It's not far from there. It's on that road. It's north of it, and it's on the right side as you're heading north, and it's right on the circle, and it's this beautiful building. I was wondering what it was because it's been empty for a while. I don't know what's going on with it, and then I find out that it's a new clinic or a new hospital. I said, "Wow!" But we have a new one. I could see it from here actually. If I go out on my balcony, it's a round tower with a rectangle building next to it. And yes, yeah, there's no shortage of healthcare around here. Christopher, how you doing? I finally made it to Armenia. I loved it. I stayed in La Castellana neighborhood. Oh, a beautiful neighborhood. One day I'll live there. It's a little pricey, but it's my favorite neighborhood, actually. Very safe, very walkable, very quiet. I thought it would make a great area to retire someday. Absolutely. My favorite supermarket here in Armenia is Luralis, and they have a little annex there on the corner. Yeah, that was a wise choice. get a good Sura EPS policy, one that gives you options for emergency care. Yeah, the problem with that right now is it they are now trying to get people with an M visa off EPS. And if you go to renew your M visa and you have the EPS and they know about it, in other words, if you use that as your insurance, they know about it, they will require you to cancel that policy and have to reapply, which means pay again to get your M visa. And then you'll have to have the traveler's insurance. So that really, really sucks. I mean, there's a number of things that change that suck. On the other hand, you can look at it and say, yeah, but most countries have changed. It's gotten difficult in most places. That one really sucks. Now, fortunately, I've got my resident visa, so I'm actually permitted to have it. And for a while, I argued with people because they said, well, you're not allowed. And I said, well, you are. And I kept checking and you were allowed. But they were reading a proposal. And at the time I'm saying, yeah, you can have it. I'm telling them that. And they're saying, no, you can't. It was a proposal and I hadn't seen the proposal, but then it became actual. It's actually the regulation. So that sucks. And you can't get the private options. Like I have the EPS, and recently I opted for an 80,000 peso a month upgrade to where I can go directly to a specialist. There's a lot of things. It just makes it quicker. The ambulance has broader coverage, hospital, private room, things like that. So I figure, what the hell? I had these health problems for the last couple years, and I'm thinking, well, maybe these things are important. Maybe I should look at. No, thank God, since the last time I was sick, the end of last year, I've been feeling really good. So, it's like all that stuff's in the rearview mirror, but probably come around again. Who knows? I mean, I'm an old fart, and stuff happens. Okay, rents. Appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate you guys asking the questions. Well, look at all that. Yes, wow. Sorry, I'm checking out locals. Very cool. All right, let me get rid of that. How much do you pay for health insurance? It went up. I pay $162,000 a month for my basic health insurance plan with Sura, the EPS plan. And then I pay $80,000 a month more for the upgrade. So I have all that stuff. I could see a specialist, but under EPS, you have to go see the general practitioner and be referred to a specialist. Well, that means 2 appointments. I don't want to screw around with that. Even things like deductibles are almost a joke, because deductibles, like on medicine, it's like 1,000 or 2,000 pesos. You're talking like 25, 50 cents deductible on medicine. But you do the upgrade, you can eliminate certain deductibles. Ambulance is 100% free. My emergency room visits under EPS are 100% free. But like if you get hospitalized under EPS, it's basically share a room. And with the upgrade, you get a private room. So I figured, the chances of me having some issue over the next year or two are probably higher than I would wish. So I did the upgrade. And 80,000, how much is that? $20? 20. So I think I'm paying about $50 a month in total for the basic insurance and the upgrade. Mike, I had to officially drop my EPS insurance, buy a traveler's insurance after approval of Visa reinstate EPS. That's exactly right. And that sucks. I mean, it really sucks. Fortunately, the EPS, they don't, they're not working together, so they don't care either way. But the worst part of that is that if you don't know that, you go in and you file for the M visa, you find out you got to drop that policy. Now you got to go get a traveler's insurance. But the worst part is you have to resubmit everything. If you know going in, like you hear me and you say, okay, well, I'm going to drop my EPS because I got to do my M visa now, and you get your 3 months worth of traveler's insurance, and then you apply, it'll just go through, and then you can handle it on the other end. But having to reapply really kind of sucks. Yeah, I think Mike had to do that, and there's a few other people. I mean, we didn't know it's always changing. Hugo, thank you for making my workday so informative. Yeah, well, it's like I'm retired, but I'm not really. But I'm not doing any coffee work today, so that's cool. But it was labor intensive for a while. All right, what here? Look for okay, it's out of the way. All right, where was I? Rents. Pre-COVID, post-COVID. Now here in Armenia, inflation didn't hit right after COVID. It was really 2023 is when inflation hit. And it's seemed like everything doubled. Now rents for a basic, decent high-rise building with security and some amenities, rents were around 1 million pesos. Maybe if it was particularly nice, 1.4 million pesos a month. Today, those same places are 1.8 to 2.2 million pesos a month. I opted to remain here because even though when I got it, it was hype, it was overpriced. But because I've been here, I'm going in my third year, because there's a limit, they can't keep bumping you up. It's a very small amount they can bump you up. It has now fallen in line because everything else, somebody's not living there, they can make it whatever price they want to make it. And so places were getting more expensive. This one, because I was kind of a captive price, it's kind of caught up. So I've decided, well, I'm going to stay here for another year, because even though it's expensive to me, to the market, it's kind of fallen into the right zone. So basically, I'm paying $2 million for something that 2021 I would have paid maybe $1 million, maybe 1.2, somewhere in there. Mike, get a good Sura agent, not one that's just out of school, one that has 10 or 15 years. She takes care of everything, appointments, medications, everything, all at no charge, meds delivered. Yeah, that's key. And the thing, you don't know what you don't know. I was confused when I was writing to this person in WhatsApp about possibly getting the add-on insurance. I went to the website, I'm looking, and I say, well, here in Armenia, it looks like this isn't covered. That she says, no, it is. It's just, it's not on the website. What you have to do is call in. I said, well, that can be kind of difficult for me. I speak some Spanish, but on the phone in particular, I have a lot of trouble. In person, I can get through it. On the phone, it's a struggle for me. I'm not seeing body language. I'm not getting certain cues that help me communicate or understand what people are trying to say. And she said, oh, no. And she told me basically how I can go about it. And I said, well, that's very cool. And there's a lot of things that they will just take care of for you. No, just tell me what you need. I can do this. You can get somebody assigned to you. Uh, I didn't know those things where you run into them occasionally and you think it's like a one off. No, it's like it's done that way. Um, so that's very cool. Based on your experience, what EPS companies do you recommend? I only recommend Sura. It's the largest, best funded. Um, and for example, Turtle had Sura. He had some great experiences. He came on air one time, talked about 3 different experiences with his heart and different things when he busted up his ankle and the great service that he got from Sura. But when he moved to where he is right now, Sura doesn't really serve in that area, so he had to switch to Sanitas. And he said they suck. Takes forever for appointments, and they're, depending on where you are, the 2 best companies in Colombia are Sura and Sanitas. But in Armenia, Medellin and Bogota, Sura is like very strong. It's number 1 here. Sanitas runs behind it, but it's the best funded. They're certainly the strongest. They're an insurance company that's been able to stand up to this healthcare manipulation that El Presidente has been doing, trying to nationalize it, take over, and so they were going to be out of the play. Basically, they played chicken. He was not funding, and they announced that they're just going to drop the EPS program. The most people in Colombia are insured through that, and so there was a lot of backlash, and so it's been in limbo. They still are operating, and they're getting things are getting paid. So, El Presidente bit on more than he could chew, I think. Okay. Rents. So I covered rents. Buying a car from a dealer. Paraphrase. I really should just copy these, throw them up on the screen, right? You mentioned in coffee time that you should only buy a car from a dealer. Why is that? Wouldn't I do better if I bought it from a private owner? Probably not in Colombia. There is a thing here where people justify screwing you. It's a cultural thing, and it's not because you're a gringo. They'll screw their neighbor in a business transaction if you're not careful. You have to know the lay of the land. You have to know the rules of the game very well, and you won't get screwed over. But it's not easy to do that. I got screwed over on my first transaction. And my first transaction, I bought it from a private owner. My second car, I bought from a private owner. Had issues there. Had issues registering, and I'm not going to go through all the details of that. My third car, the Black Elephant, Negro Elefante, I bought that through a dealer, and I couldn't afford all of it, and so he financed it for me. He personally financed it for me. And when I went back and got my new car, I actually traded it back in to him. But in dealing with him, being a dealer, everything was seamless. And I didn't have any of those problems. They operate by normal rules that you would expect. They handle all the paperwork. In his case, he's a particularly honest person. They aren't all, of course, so you want to be careful. But he was vouched for, and everything that I was told was true. And so when I need another car, I went back to him because he's a straight shooter, and I'm really happy with what I got. I got a good price on the car. I had a couple people say, well, you could have got it for such and such. Well, you're not seeing the car. You don't understand the deal. You think I didn't look at that? And the best price equivalent I could find had a little bit more mileage on it, and it was 7 million pesos more than what I paid for this car. It was a good price for the car. This wasn't a base model. This was an upgraded model, had different options and things. Plus, it had the new tires and it had the window tint installed, which is important when you're down on the equator. There was something else. It had a number of expenses that were already done. Now, the only thing that I was wondering is why did it have to have new tires? I did ask after the first time I talked about it, and it turned out that they destroyed one of the tires, and the tire store told them that you have to replace all four. Well, you don't actually have to replace all four, but there is something on the same drive line. You want to have similar tread, but they could have got away with it because didn't have that many miles to begin with. But they replaced all four new tires. That's just a plus for me. It's like great. So even if all those things hadn't taken place, it was a decent price. It was a fair price I could find maybe in Bogota, something like that. Not in Armenia, but you can get it from different areas. But then when you added in those other things, it actually made it a really good deal. I mean, okay, it's only 17,000 miles, but still having four tires, that just gives you that much more life in those tires. And so all that's cool. Window tints, not terribly expensive, but it's something I don't have to do. There was another thing. It was even a bigger thing. I forget. I can't remember off the top of my head. So when you buy a car from a dealer, the chances of some of the scams that you're going to run to won't exist. For example, one of the issues I ran into was there's an organization, think of it as DMV, and it's called RUNT, RUNT. And so if you get a ticket or something like that, it's in that computer database. The ticket's attached to the car. If somebody sells you a car and it's got tickets on it, you are now responsible for those tickets. It's not because it was theirs. You now bought those. When I bought mine, it was the first one. It was back around COVID, and offices weren't open, and certain things they changed overnight how they were doing things, and some stuff got lost in the shuffle. Turns out that there were 5 tickets that were on that car when I bought it, and they claimed that there weren't any. They took advantage of that situation. They looked it up probably and saw it wasn't appearing, and I looked it up. I knew to look, so I look and there's nothing there. Okay, cool. When I go to register it, all of a sudden these 5 tickets show up, but they also show up with late fees, and these tickets were from several years before I even bought the car. It's what it turns out was one of the reasons they weren't driving it. And because they weren't driving it, they didn't bother keeping up with the tax and registration and stuff like that. So I had all of these fines and registration and all this issues that was going to take millions of pesos to bail me out of that car to make it drivable. It was a lot, actually. And so I found a way to get rid of it, basically including it with another car as a parts car, so I could recover some of my money. Otherwise, I would have been stuck with it, owing those tickets, which if you don't pay them, now you go get another car. What about these tickets? So it's a mess. And, some things you have to learn the hard way. With a dealership, it's not like that at all. They actually make sure that all the paperwork is clear. They become the responsible party for that. I didn't have to go to Transito and stand in line. They took care of all the paperwork. All I had to do is pick up the car. They give you the little plastic ID card for the car. You get like it's like a plastic ID card for the car, and it had my name on it, and it's like all done, taken care of. All the taxes were up to snuff. It just makes it very simple, but it makes it a secure transaction where you don't have to worry about what's going to happen 6 months from now. So there's that. Plus, most of the dealers, at least around Armenia, will give you certain warranties. Now, in this case, this car doesn't need it because I bought the mechanical, but it still has factory warranty on it. But the mechanical actually covers some things that aren't in factory, so it was dirt cheap, so I opted for it. So I don't have to worry about it. But those are, if you buy an older car and you just want to keep the basic insurance on it, you want to, save $50-$60 a month, they'll give you, and you can negotiate it. They'll give you a warranty on the Ford Edge. The first couple days, Carlos was with me. We went to Pereira and it overheated in the traffic. And they ended up buying a complete fan assembly that was, it was like $300 plus labor. $300 is in US dollars. It was an expensive part because the dealer only buys from, in that case, Ford. Oxygen sensors, they were back ordered through Ford, and I was getting frustrated because I was getting crappy gas mileage. So I sent them a link on Amazon. Here, buy these. I said, no, we're not going to do that because if we get them, they fail. We're responsible for it. We'll get it from Ford, and we don't have to worry about there being a conflict with a computer program or whatever. So they were very fanatical about that, but they covered those expenses that I had to get a tow truck, a flatbed. They just took care of everything. It was sweet. It was nice, and that was all them. So going with a dealer, are you going to pay more? Not necessarily. They're trying to sell a car too, and at least my experience at the Chevy dealer when I was talking to them, at this guy, this is an independent place. Their cars are all priced right. They don't. People do their homework, and they're not going to go in and overpay for a car. But private people, sometimes they're a good price. Those you have to be wary of. But very often, the price is ridiculous. And one of the justifications is, well, it's high because we expect that you're going to try and negotiate. Well, what the hell? I mean, why do I even want to talk to you if your price right off the gate is way more than it's supposed to be? I don't even want to talk to you. You go through all that with a car dealer. With this guy, I looked at the price. It was a fair price. It was actually a good price. I didn't even argue about the price. Could I have negotiated? Maybe. What I did do though is work on him on what he would allow for me on the Ford Edge. I said, well, look, I had to put 2 new axles into it. It was after it was out of warranty, but it didn't even have anything to do with the warranty. It was where I was driving. I broke it. It was my fault. I said, well, you got 2 brand new axles in there. And yeah, that's true. So we went back and forth on that, and I got a few million more out of that deal. But on the car itself, it was a fair price. I could not have duplicated that particular car. I mean, not a ding or scratch in it. The thing was literally like brand new. It still had the peel stuff on the computer screen on the dashboard, and so so buying a car from a dealer is a whole different experience than dealing with anonymous scumbags that will tell you anything and then they disappear once they got your money. Okay. Hugo, thank you for your content. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Get over to Rumble. Get on Rumble. I don't think I read this one. Hugo, I'm finally making a move to Manizales. Good choice this coming summer with my wife and son. We're very excited, but we feel a little bit scared about the change. We started selling our stuff, and now it feels real. You're gonna love it. The place, my favorite place, favorite city in Colombia, one of my favorites in the world. And as anybody's watched for a while, I've traveled a lot. I've been to a lot of different countries. And I've spent 3 years or more in a number of different countries. So I have some context. In Manizales, it just rules. But you need to know how to live in Manizales. That's really the key. Turtle, you should be on here. You should be part of this conversation because he lived there, I don't know, 3-4 years, maybe more. Knowing how to live in Manizales is really key. It's really important. I'll get back to that. I've got an ad campaign that just lit up green. So apparently I've got enough viewers. And in a minute, I'm probably going to do an ad read, try it out, see how it goes, see if I make any money on it. I tried this once before. It'll probably be something simple like Rumble Premium, something like that. But so moving to Manizales, the key is living on 23. 23 is a main 4-lane with a median that's up on the crest of the main mountain where Manizales exists. It's actually on a number of mountain peaks, but on the main one, you take the cable car up, and 23 runs, I don't know, a number of miles from one end to the other. It's all relatively flat up there. It's got a whole bunch of different malls, restaurants. It's got all kinds of everything you could possibly want. You could live the rest of your life on 23 if you chose to, and you could walk everywhere. Manizales is wicked. On some neighborhoods, you almost need to. It's like those old Batman things where they actually would film it like this, and then turn it like they're climbing up with the rope, and you'd stop at the window, and somebody would stick their head out, and you'd climb up. If you remember the old TV series Batman? Well, that's a lot of Manizales. It's wicked. There's some streets that are so steep, more than San Francisco, and if you park a car on it, if you don't put wheel chocks in it, it will slide back down because the brakes, the wheels they won't turn, but it'll just skid down anyway. It's that steep. So you don't want to live in those places, really, because not being able to walk, that's an issue. Particularly if you're getting older, if you're retired, the easier it is to go walking, the more you're going to do it. And on 23, it's so much fun. That's one of the things I loved about living there. There are things I don't live there for my own reasons, but it doesn't mean I don't love the place. And one of the things that I loved is I get up in the morning, and it was an event for me. It was something I want to do. I would go out and I would walk up 23 on one way and come back down the other and then return back home. 3-4 hours, I'd be walking a number of miles. I'd stop, I'd get a coffee, I'd people watch, I might stop for lunch. Sometimes I'd go down to the Caruja, do some grocery shopping, then I'd take a taxi back home and call it a day. But it was an awesome way to live. And there's a lot of nice neighborhoods that are right off of 23. There's places on 23. There's some just off of 23. But 23 is where everything's happening. And that's how you can live in Manizales and love it. If you live in one of these barrios where you're just constantly climbing hills, it's going to suck. So anyway, what else we got? How we doing? I'm 25 minutes away from 2 hours. That's pretty cool. I got a bunch of people on here. Feel free to write to me in chat. I've got more people in Rumble than YouTube. I'm loving that. I don't know how many people are in my YouTube personal channel. There was somebody, David, there, but I haven't seen any more comments since. And I think I did put up, nobody wants to do this, I understand, but I'm still going to invite you. That's how you could actually come in with your cell phone and be on screen and chat with me. I mentioned this earlier. I'm going to show it again. Last Tuesday, I was trying to remember that lawyer show that I thought was in Boston, and that was it, Boston Legal. And somebody said Boston Public, but that was a different TV show. But this is the one I was talking about because we're talking about Asperger's, and we're talking about Elon Musk. And Elon Musk has Asperger's because people interpret his halting voice and his weird way of acting and woohoo, and all that kind of stuff. He has an affliction, and that's what it's about. But that comes with a package of being a genius. I would trade that if I had the brains of that guy. You give me Asperger's. Asperger's is a type of autism. That I couldn't remember. Is it autism? Is Asperger's? It's a type of. It's in that same general category. And so that's his affliction. I'd take that any day if I could be as brilliant as this guy. Okay. Getting a visa. Why no lawyer for a visa? This is something that was asked me a couple months ago. Why do you say don't get a lawyer? This isn't true for every country, but this is true here in Colombia. Don't get a lawyer, particularly a lawyer out of Medellin. You're going to overpay, and your service is probably not going to be great. Now, you might get lucky, but lawyers, including immigration lawyers, don't file for visas all that often. Visa agents are doing it every day, all day long. If you ever want to know what's happening, you're going to talk to a visa agent who's actually doing this work, and they're doing it all the time. That's what's key. Lawyers dabble in it, don't keep up with it. Lawyers, I'm going to generalize, tend to be very lazy. They tend to not give great service. They tend to be prima donnas. And none of that stuff is good when you're trying to set your life up. That's why I use the same one I've used. Turtle, he was here the year before I came. And he used her, and he knew several people that had used her. They recommended her. He's used her. I recommended her, and I've only ever once got any complaints. That was from Mike, actually. He had to go renew his visa at a time when all the rules were up in the air. Everything changed. Nobody knew what was going on. It was a big change. 2022. And he thought it was her, and he was really pissed at her. And I think he ended up going through maybe a lawyer in Medellin. I don't know. If Mike, if you're still here, you can comment on that. But the Rumble bot, thanks for the follow at Lost the Nomad. Okay, so somebody just followed me of Lost the Nomad. All right, well, it's cool. Interesting. I didn't know I had a Rumble bot. So, it's very cool. So, but I've recommended dozens and dozens of people to her, and everybody's always raved about her. It just makes life simple, makes life easy. So, hence, I continue recommending her. Um, Solely based on the fact that it's flawless and painless, even with all these changes. At least she makes her part as painless as possible. Now, I know Mike got caught up in a meat grinder, but yeah, I think at some point he figured out that it actually wasn't her fault. But I know he was livid. He was so angry, and with what had gone on with him, I didn't blame him. It was just directed in the wrong place. I lost the Nomad. Hey, okay. Not sure who you are. You're somebody that I already know, but I appreciate you following. It all counts. It all matters, because this channel, we're on YouTube. I always say, don't worry about it. I don't care. Don't worry about the likes and all that. It doesn't matter. On Rumble, it does matter. I'm trying to build this up. I'm trying to monetize it. Hence, that's why I'm doing this Kill My Voice marathon. The coffee mug. So yeah, I'm trying to monetize it. So all the, where is it here? I have something there. Like, comment, and share. Sharing videos is a big, that goes a long way. So there you go. I'll do it here. It was the exact opposite with YouTube. All right, the ad thing just came up. I'm going to try reading an ad. Bear with me here. All right. This sponsorship is from Rumble, one that is incredibly important to the survival of the company. Ooh. When Rumble first started, well, this is a long read. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator. They didn't censor or have biases. They were fair and treated all creators equally. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions on COVID, but they did. Facebook admitted they felt the pressure from the Biden and Harris administration. Rumble did not. They held the line. I remember they tried to put them out of business. Oh, sorry. They're attacked daily for giving us a voice to talk to you. They're attacked in corporate media. They're attacked by governments like France. They are attacked from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate America is fighting to remove speech. Rumble is fighting to keep it. Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers. They don't get much of it. Watching our show on Rumble is the most they can ask from you. But if you really believe in this fight, and if you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. Rumble is offering $10 off with a promo code STUDIO when you purchase an annual subscription. Go to rumble.com/premium, use promo code STUDIO. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now is the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we are just happy if you watch us on Rumble. Oh, that was long. That was a lot. Now I'm curious. I wonder how that's going to work out. We'll see. I wanted to try one again. I tried it before, but I didn't really understand it. And well, I think I did earn $4 or $5 on it ultimately. I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't, but I do a little bit better. I had followed you on YouTube, but tried to use Rumble more often and saw you live. Awesome. Thank you. That's the way I'm trying to get it to work out. Mike Jarvis. She still pisses me off, but she does a good job. Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. I don't care about any of that. She's a Christian woman. She's married, but she's got an office. She's had this office for like a decade, so she's very consistent. If she wasn't good, she wouldn't still be in business. But she's different. She doesn't speak any English, but it doesn't really matter. Um, all you have to do is email her what you're trying to do, and she'll figure it out because she knows the visa process well enough. She knows what you need, and she'll just say, "Get me this, this, and this," kind of thing. And it's changed a lot. A lot of stuff is online now, but it can be frustrating. I know two people that tried to do it themselves with help from a Colombian because of the Spanish. And in both cases, they got rejected and had to go back and do it again. And one of them had to do it a third time. It's so nice just to have, okay, what do I need? All right, here you go. Call me when it's over. It's so nice. So that's why I say, don't get a lawyer, get an agent, or maybe this particular agent. Maybe they're not all like that. But what I have learned is because she does so many of these, you can't help but get good at it. Now, when they change all the rules, and they're only enforcing half of them, and then they kick them in here and there and there, it's like that can be maddening. But she was equally as frustrated. Mike is upset. I had some conversations with her back then because I was trying to get a handle on it. And as pissed off as you was, she was also pissed off. It was very frustrating because she had to redo some of her work because of that situation. All right. And the last thing I have on my list, here's my list. The last thing on my list is Colombian food. Colombian food. My throat hurts. That's why I don't think I can do this very often. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm 10 a.m. That's what I'm going to try to do through March. And then once I get my 30 hours, I don't have to do that every month, or at least it didn't say that. That'll change things. But if I get my 30 hours in March, I then am qualified to go into the monetization program. They call it a Rumble Creator. It's an actual program. Then I'm eligible to get certain things, and that includes earning money. So, like I say, I'm not Mr. Moneybags No Bad guy, which I've watched a couple of his videos. I like his videos. I remember watching, he was talking about some kind of property thing in Bogota, and I watched it, and it was like I was watching Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. He was showing this neighborhood. I know the neighborhood. It's about as wealthy a neighborhood as it exists in Bogota. And he's showing this building and this guy. And it turns out it was this guy that was shopping for an entire high rise to buy. And he went in and dropped a few $1 million on refurbishing all 15 stories of it. And, it's like, I mean, that's all well and good, but I couldn't even afford an apartment in that building, let alone, buying the entire high rise. And, the guy's queuing in on all the legal aspects of it. And I get it. I appreciate it. But, like you're saying, why don't I do those kind of things? Well, it's obvious why. I'm poor. I'm poor. Here I'm middle class, but I get involved in so many things that cost this channel. It costs this equipment. If you could see this studio, I'm looking at these microphones and cameras and lights and, this monitor. I got all this stuff with the coffee. I had to go get this label printer. I had to get a regular printer. It's like everything. It's expensive if you're involved in my hobby. you know. So better start making some money. All right. So Colombian food. When I lived here 20 plus years ago, 24 years ago now. I mean, for a long time, I kept saying 20 years. No, it was 2001. And I lived here for just shy of a year. I had a job here in Pereira. I lived in Dos Quebradas. I was working in Pereira and taking my weekends here in Quindío because it was cooler and less criminals. Pereira, it was bad back then. We were in the height of the FARC and all of that stuff, and they actually existed right in here in Quindío in a couple of places. Well, back then, the food, to my taste, kind of sucked. I mean, I appreciated food. I'd worked in a couple very high-end, known kind of restaurants. I would dine out a lot, and it's like I had a taste for different things. French, Italian. Lived in Japan for 3 years, so I know what good sushi is, which I made some 2 weeks ago. I was teaching Sharik how to make it. Oh my God, it was so good. And anyway, so food back then, it was here in Colombia, it was just very basic. The only seasoning they used was salt, except for some soup. They'd use some cumin, a few things like that. But everything was bland. There was no hot sauce. They thought black pepper was hot. And lunch was always the same. It was a nice lettuce, tomato salad, a mound of rice, and some kind of meat. If it was beef, it was cut really thin and cooked so it was like a piece of shoe leather. It was like the bottom of your shoe. Chicken was not as tough, so it was easier to eat. Even I love beef, but it kind of sucked as compared to the chicken. That's every day. That was lunch. It didn't change. Breakfast, pretty much the same. They would buy it every day from the vendor that would come up and down the street. Queso, and you'd go out to your door and flag them down. You'd buy a farm fresh little ball of fresh cheese, and then guy would come. It was like one after the other. Huevos. Now they do it on these announcing machines. What do you call it? They're just loud and obnoxious. They got speakers. Then it was just a guy walking around with a card or a backpack or something, and so you flag him down. You get the eggs and the breakfast. It was pretty much the same. It would be hot chocolate, piece of cheese. It'd be an arepa, and maybe orange juice. That was it. That was every day. That was it. Every once in a while, they throw an egg in. The arepa, the people that I was living with, they would always put an egg in the arepa. And so they would buy the egg every day. They would buy the oranges, all from the vendors that just be walking by. They'd start at 6 a.m. and end about 6:30, and they'd gather the stuff up and cook it, and that's the way it was. But the food, it's not like it was horrible. It was just so bland. It was so boring, and it was tedious and day after day. I remember Jenny, the girl that I was seeing at the time, my translator. She was all excited to take me to a restaurant that had something different, and we went. And what it was shrimp ceviche, and it was something that was in the restaurant, but the economy was horrible back then, and it's like not a lot of people they were coming out of a stage of decades where people were not eating well. That's why they were so short. A lot of poverty, a lot of starvation. There was economic issues back then, and with most everybody. And so the food, represented that they ate to survive. They didn't eat for the flavor. Didn't really matter. You're just trying not to starve. The best food you were going to get would be something like somebody's mother or grandmother on a Sunday would make something like sancocho. It's like a soup. It would have potato and yuca and maybe a piece of chicken in it, and they would use some cumin and basil and it would, or cilantro, not basil, cilantro, and it would taste delicious. It would be really good. It would be like the love of the grandma kind of thing. That was really good, but that wasn't a normal thing. That was a special event. Homemade empanadas, I loved them. Learned to make them. I love chorizos, so I learned how they made chorizos because it was very different. They're my favorite kind of sausage. Ahead of Italian sausage. I love Italian sausage, but well-made chorizo. To this day, I know how to make a really delicious chorizo sausage. So there were some good things, but for the most part, that wasn't what you ate daily. That's just not what you go to a restaurant, you're going to get the same thing. That's why I stay away from what they call executive lunches here, because it's just a throwback to that old thing. Now, there's more, and it is more flavorful, and you get more with it. You get a juice and you get a soup, but it's still that basic lunch, which is kind of boring. The flavor of things over the years have improved because so many people went to the USA, returned, and took some of that information, added flavor to the food. Some restaurants that were here learned to cater to the people from Colombia that had gone to the US, came back, and they were saying the food was bland. And so there's definitely been an upgrade. And there are places I can go here. I mentioned it before, like Robles, just not too far out of town, kind of need a car, has your basic Colombian food, but it is, oh my God, it's delicious. It's so good. Who would have thought? It can be really good. On the other hand, I don't want it every day because it's kind of the same thing. And so Colombian food in the past was kind of bad. Just boring as hell, bland and tasteless, but just boring. Well, now it's not so much like that if you know where to go, but a lot of these lunch places, they're giving you a lot of food for $2-3. You can't really expect much out of it. Seriously, it's still, that's really for working people who are just trying to put the calories in, and they're not really sitting there savoring the flavor of it. They don't even care. They're just wolfing it down and need those calories to go out and pick some coffee or whatever. So you have to, take these things in context. The upgrade of food in Colombia has been striking because everywhere you go now, you can find international food. I mean, except maybe a small village, but here in Armenia, which is a tiny little city, 300,000 or maybe even less, Manizales, you got 600,000 people. Paredes, I think it's about 600,000 people. You got all kinds of international restaurants in these places. In Medellin, you have some world-class restaurants, really good food. So Colombian food can be awesome, but everything is not going to be Mexico. Mexico has some of the better food. Italy, some of the world's finest food comes out of Italy. And as an added bonus, you got northern Italy and you got southern Italy, and they're completely different types of food. Colombia has some amazingly good food if it's done right, if it's cooked right. If it's not, it's still a snooze fest. So that's the thing on Colombian food. So when you have people like me, maybe, that talk about Colombian food and not really giving it a shot because we just remember all the time we spent eating this boring as hell food because it's the only thing around. And it was the same thing. It's like they like to do the same thing. I like something different every night. If I had Mexican already this week. It's like, give me something different. Well, here it's like the opposite. No, give me the same thing day after day. So they've broken that in many places where now you have options. They're using different spices. You'll even find almost every restaurant will have hot sauce now. You may have to ask for it, but they'll have hot sauce, which that kind of blew me away because, it was considered bad, evil in the past. Hot sauce, you're crazy. They would look at it and start throwing a fit and drinking water because, it's like, yeah, they had crazy reactions to even the thought of hot sauce. So things change. Colombian food now. I love to go to that restaurant, Robles, maybe a couple times a month. I don't like to repeat. Doesn't mean it's not good. It's just I don't want to go there every day or even every week, but maybe every couple of weeks. I love the place. It's really good. So that's the thing on Colombian food. Steak, it's horrible unless you know where to get it. They're learning. A good steak, you can actually you go to a decent restaurant and order a steak, they'll actually ask you what temperature you want it cooked at. Do you want it rare, medium well? They'll actually ask you, where some years ago, you're going to get it. It was going to be cut thin and it was going to be burnt all to hell. All right. I went through my list and I've hit 2 hours. I got to try an ad read. I'm curious what you guys think about that ad read. Feel free to put comments below the video later or send me off an email. I still have failed to get you in here to join me on the screen. I would like to do that or even try 2 or 3 people. Maybe I'll have to just personally contact and beg people to join me here. So I'm going to end it here. I hit the 2-hour mark. I got a lot that I needed done accomplished. And so I will see you at Coffee Time Sunday at 11 a.m. And then again next week, Tuesday, 10 a.m. I am going on the tour with Sharik for family reunion stuff. So I'm not sure how that'll come into play. I might have to bounce this around a little bit, but understand I'm doing these. They're not going to be a permanent fixture. I don't imagine. This is so I can achieve a goal by the end of March. All right, everybody. Thank you. Please send me off some comments or emails or whatever to help me along with this project. And I will see you Sunday or Tuesday or both. Ciao.